Hi guys, just wanted to give my mid-season review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know I said I wanted to. I know I said I was going to say I was going to do it early. I just figured, like I said, it was going to be more appropriate if I did the review after I saw the winter finale, just to give you like a general idea of like what I've thought of the show so far, since it's going to be going on hiatus until March, unfortunately, because with this has without a doubt been the best season of the show so far. And at this point, I can say with confidence that I would put it in the same league with the Flash and Arrow. Now, I think with everyone else, I have the same problems with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that it definitely got off to a rocky start. It did feel a little bit slow. It did gradually get better as time went on, but of course, it wasn't until the Captain America 2 twist where it gave that show the shot in the arm. And season 2 is when the showrunners, either they were allowed to or they finally decided to just like not be slavish to the continuity of what's going on in the movies, just have the team just be doing their own thing. So instead of just like waiting for events or trying to tie events to the films like they did like Thor 2 or Captain America 2, now they're just dealing with the Inhumans, which is a movie that's not coming out until like 2019 or something. But anyway, this has been like a fantastic. I really enjoyed the hell out of the show. You know, storylines have now dragged on. This show has like a new level of confidence I've never seen, and especially just with the season 1, this is season 3 premiere where they were Inhuman was being chased down. He had the ability to melt metal, or at least manipulate metal. Not so much like I guess kind of like Magneto, where it's just sort of like either liquefy it or shape it into any means he wanted to. He didn't have control over it. And then of course there's the shot where you can just see the shock waves like pushing away like mercenaries, and then like Daisy Johnson, formerly known as Skye, emerges like wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit like straight out of the comic book, cut her hair, and more confident, completely embraced her identity, and she's become like a total badass character. In my complete badass character, she's one of my favorite characters on the show. Even to the point where now she's like one of the, I don't know about second in command. I guess you can say second in command because May takes a leave of absence with Andrew, and she's also trying to recruit secret warriors. But the problem is that Will doesn't know how to control. Joey, the first recruit, doesn't know how to control their powers, and also it seems like Andrew comes back at some point after some falling out with May, and he seems to keep saying that all the humans that they recruited, they're not fit for service because they're too unstable and they can be dangerous. We'll get to more of his storyline later. But she's also confident enough to call Coulson out on his leadership and whether or not he's thinking straight, especially since a new player comes into the game named Rosalind Price. At first you think she's a bad guy, and it turns out her name is an alias. I was hoping that when I first saw her debut episode that since it was an alias, that maybe she would be the live action version of Abigail Brand, and maybe they were going to be introducing S.W.O.R.D. into the TV show. But I guess obviously maybe they don't have the rights, just because even though Joss Whedon created the character and the agency during his run of Astonishing X-Men, it still was under the X-Men banner. So I guess maybe they can't introduce that. So they're just called the ATCU. And basically, instead of having a rivalry or conflict with that agency, like they did with Gonzalez's sector of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra, Coulson decides they have to work together to find all these Inhumans. They're tired of like infighting with agencies and fighting with the armies and all these other government agencies. Like, it's not worth it. Nobody trusts her just because of the fact that she was capturing Inhumans, and even though she wasn't responsible for killing them, she was still keeping them contained in like in these like weird like gel-like containers in suspended animation until she felt like they were probably these were abilities the Inhumans had were curses, and she wanted to find a cure for them because her husband died of cancer, and she thought that if and she feels like if had her husband gone through a similar procedure, Rosalind's husband would still be alive. It's still questionable, but Coulson decides to go along with her, and I love the dynamic that is going on between the two of them because of the fact that they are able to have this snark and they both end up being very snarky and have this like very witty banter, and I think it's cool that they have like a romance going on. When at first it was revealed that she was a bad guy, at first you think she's a bad guy, then you think she isn't, then you think she is a bad guy because she's working for this man named Gideon Malik, who's played by Powers Booth, who you may not remember him. He was featured in the Avengers, the first movie, as a member of the World Security Council. His face was obscured, but it turns out he was a member of Hydra. She doesn't know that he was with Hydra, and that Malik was actually trying to recruit and capture Inhumans as part of it, build up this army. And it's revealed later on to both the S.H.I.E.L.D. and Ward that Hydra has existed since even before 1944 World War II. They've been around for millennia, and they were originally created to bring back this ancient Inhuman meant to like take over the planet, and they were going to use this and they were planning on using this monolith to bring them that captured that sucked up Simmons. It was able to sucked up Simmons to bring it back, and you find out that the monolith was actually a portal that sent Simmons to that alien planet called Mavith, where she was like where she had to learn how to survive for 6 months. They show you there is like a standalone episode that just chronicles the events of how she had to survive, and it was a very like emotionally powerful episode for Simmons. Like, she had to learn how to like survive on this alien planet, and it turns out there was somebody else sent there, like an astronaut named Will. And at first you kind of figured like, oh, he's obviously gonna be an obviously romantic rival. You don't want him to just for Fitzsimmons, but considering that they've been struggling to survive and try to find ways to open a portal, get the timing right based on star alignments to get back to Earth, and when they fail, they realize they're in a state of despair and there's no way they're getting home. So they just figured. So I bought the fact that they would be like in each other's arms and just have this passionate romance because they figured that they're going to be there indefinitely until Fitz, who's on the brink of giving up. I mean, he's been traveling all over the world trying to find her, as you found out in the first couple of episodes, doing research on the monolith and being able to finally figure out like what it was being used for, and was able to like go travel to the alien planet and bring her back, but wasn't able to bring Will back. And when Gemma Simmons tells Leo Fitz the story of what happened, he's willing to, for Gemma's sake, bring Will back, even though he's basically a romantic rival and doesn't want to be any. Really doesn't want him, and just hates the fact that they feel like even they acknowledge it, they're star-crossed lovers, and they eventually have their first kiss, but he's trying to put his feelings aside to be the bigger man and show that she'll do anything for Simmons, even though it's kind of good, puts another wedge between them relationship-wise. Now, as far as and some other characters like Mac, he's basically been working alongside Daisy Johnson trying to find recruit Inhumans, even though he still has a grudge against them just from the events at the end of season 1, and especially towards Lincoln, since they helped Jiaying try to kill the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and take over and declare war on humanity. Lincoln has basically just become like a cynic. He just doesn't want to have anything to do with Inhumans or S.H.I.E.L.D. He thinks his gifts are a curse. and he just wants to live his life as a doctor, but he basically ends up having to go on the run because of this new Inhuman that's popped out called Lash, who's been murdering different Inhumans and who's been considering himself a necessary evil, and also has been on the run from the ATCU and S.H.I.E.L.D. And ATCU wants to bring him in because they think he might be a loose cannon and a threat. Daisy is in love with him, or I guess I didn't really buy that. It just seemed like kind of shoehorned. It just felt like I didn't really buy it. It just felt like kind of shoehorned in, especially that kiss when they were trying to bring in Lincoln, and Lincoln accidentally killed his friend, and that further made him want to go on the run. At first, I thought she was just honeypotting him, but I guess there's a thing between them. But that's basically the extent of his storyline. I mean, he eventually becomes part of the Secret Warriors in a last-ditch effort in the mid-season finale. I'll get to that more in a second. Agent May, basically, she tried to, spend time going on this vacation with Andrew, rekindle their romance, but they ended up having this falling out because I think it's because May felt like she didn't deserve to be happy, and also because of the fact that you find out in later episodes when Ward tries to have Wolfgang von Strucker's son, as well as some other Hydra agents, use Andrew as leverage to cover his escape, because Ward is trying to reform Hydra using meritocracy and rebuild it from the ground up. I wasn't originally on board with Ward becoming, the straight bad guy, but just still knowing that where he came from and how he's this loose cannon still made him like a really interesting character, and also interesting character, but also getting back to trying to kill Andrew, Lance Hunter is so hellbent on revenge because Bobby Morse, Mockingbird, is still traumatized from the torture at the hands of Kara and Ward, that he decides to go for the kill shot instead of trying to let him go to save Andrew. But Andrew survives anyway because you find out that he is Lash. He found Jia-Ying's ledger. He was affected with some Terrigen mist that turned him into Lash, but now it just seems like he's been morphing back in his Jekyll. It's created this whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde dynamic where now he's, as Lincoln points out, the more he keeps morphing into Lash, the more permanent the transformation is, to the point where it's painful. You can see how painful it is for May just realizing that Andrew's got off the deep end. That's why he's been derailing Sky's efforts to put together the Secret Warriors, and that they basically had to put him in containment and capture him. But then in this mid-season finale, after Fitzsimmons are captured by Hydra, she lets him out in order to help get away from the Hydra agents, but of course Lash ends up killing all the captive Inhumans that Hydra kept captive, and wants to get away. And essentially he escapes, and you can kind of tell this weighs heavily on Simmons. And as for the thing I hate about, and I think we need somebody to consult. There need to be some kind of consultant as far as how they kill off characters on this show, because it felt like I hated the fact that they killed off Rosalind. She was a great character and a great romantic interest for Coulson, but then she was killed by Ward as a means of having not Simmons, Coulson go off the deep end and wanting to go on this revenge spree to the point where he follows him, Fitz, and Ward back to Mavith to try to get the evil Inhuman, and Coulson ends up crushing his heart with his mechanical hand. And turns out Will was already dead. The Inhuman was impersonating Will, but Coulson and Fitz are able to escape at the last second. And essentially, at first you think everything's fine, but it turns out that, of course, the Inhuman makes it back to Earth as well, taking over Grant Warts' corpse, and is apparently going to wreak havoc on the latter half of the season. Now, for Lance Hunter, I can understand like why people would hate him just because of like what he did, and also just saying things like telling Fizz he should just leave Will there to die just because he's a romantic rival. And I mean, in spite of that, yeah, it was an idiotic move on his part. I was surprised they would do that just to subvert the trope of trying to let the bad guy go just to save an innocent. But I still like the guy. I still like the snark he provides. I don't think the characters are redeemable, and and I get that he still cares for Bobby. She still proves to be a badass on the team. And I mean, I just still like the whole like character dynamics. I'm glad they brought all those other introduced all these characters in season 2. It really kind of brings a lot to the table and makes this feel more like a ensemble. And I think it strengthens the original cast and they were able to play off each other and bring out each other's strengths, especially since they kind of get out to a rough start in season 1. So, in a nutshell, I'm loving the show. I hope it doesn't lose its momentum when it comes back in March. I'm very happy with what they've done so far. If there's anything I didn't talk about, any characters you have any thoughts about, like, share, and subscribe. And I will also be putting out my reviews for the mid-seasons finales of The Flash and Arrow later tonight. And until then, I'll check you guys later.